In the 5 or so years since I've been actively involved in the anti-war, anti-imperialist movement, I've actually been called out on two things. The first one is the fact that I'm a sports fan. It's no big deal. It's the second one that I've frequently been called out on that kind of bothers me a little bit, which is the fact that I do consider myself a person of faith. Now, to many on the Christian right, I'm either seen as either lacking in faith or not having the right kind of faith. But that's for another topic. That's for another day. But the question I'm wondering is, why am I called out for my faith? What little I may or may not have. And I think part of this is because fundamentalist Christians have basically seized and manipulated the language of debate. Through their own network of TV and radio stations and churches, they have convinced people that conservatives have the monopoly on faith and morality. And to further complicate the problem is a lot of progressives have bought into the idea that religion is only a tool of the oppressor. I know at least one person that would be considered essentially a fundamentalist atheist, and he's probably bought into it more than anybody. But this shouldn't be. It seems to me that religion itself is inherently a progressive tool. You look through our country's own history, you start with Dorothy Day and many of the other activists of the late 1900s and today. You go to Martin Luther King and Medgar Evers and all of the people of the civil rights movement. Even go back to the abolitionists, who were many based on religion. And even today you have people like Father Roy, with his efforts to close down the School of the Americas, and the various activist priests from Central and Latin America. And of course you have probably the greatest example of a religious progressive, which was Christ himself. If you look through the Bible, if you look through the parts of the Bible that fundamentalists tend to either ignore or try to spin another way, Christ is almost constantly condemning the powerful, be them the Pharisees and the scribes, of whom I and many others see today's fundamentalists as being like, or the general powers of the day, which would be much like the Christians that are working against the growth of corporate power. And also, the people that Christ ministered to tended to be the undesirables, the prostitutes, the tax collectors, and other sinners. The same people that fundamentalists today would condemn. So what do progressives need to do then? I think the first thing progressives need to do is reclaim religion. Mention that ideas like compassion, tolerance, dignity, that the so-called Christian right tends to forget about, are actually the core values of religion, and that those core values are more in line with progressives. And they also have to show people that the fundamentalist view of Christianity is inherently wrong and contrary to the person that fundamentalists claim to be following. Of course, it doesn't help that it seems to me that most fundamentalists tend to be more based in the Old Testament than the New. But that is for another day.